Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. If you enjoyed today's video, please show your support by hitting that like button. We had a fantastic almost 4-hour PlayStation podcast yesterday, talking all things PlayStation and gaming. If you'd like to be part of it, don't forget to tune in every Sunday at 7 PM UK time and have your say. Right then, Death Stranding 2 reviews are out. I'm not going to give anything away in terms of spoilers, but if you don't want to know anything about the game at all, skip right ahead, take a look at the timestamps in the description and move on to the next topic in the video. So Death Stranding 2 is shaping up to be another bold and unique release from Kojima Productions, labelled as an absolute masterpiece. Known for its unconventional approach to game design, the studio is once again pushing boundaries. Kojima and his team consistently explore ideas in ways that most large-scale games do not. Death Stranding 2 builds on the foundation laid by the original, but with more noticeable enhancements in both gameplay and technical execution. While the first game felt like a testing ground for many of its ideas, the sequel feels more refined and complete. Visually, it's one of the most advanced games released so far on current generation consoles, benefiting greatly from being developed exclusively for the PlayStation 5 platform. In a console generation filled with cross-generation titles, Death Stranding 2 stands out as a game fully utilizing the hardware that it's built for. The game's environments evoke a strong sense of scale and solitude as you travel through the vast terrain. The sheer emptiness and the detail of the world around you make the experience increasingly immersive. The original game featured a fictional Iceland-inspired take on a fractured United States, but the sequel introduces two new diverse locations in Mexico and Australia. These fresh settings not only bring visual variety, but also expand the sense of a global journey. The core theme of reconnecting people remains, but the upgraded technology and more diverse world design make the mission feel richer and more impactful. Much of the game's visual power comes from the Decima Engine developed by Guerrilla Games. Kojima Productions has taken full advantage of its capabilities to create detailed and dynamic landscapes. And while the visual leap from the first game isn't as dramatic as the one between the Horizon titles, and that's largely because the original Death Stranding already set a very high standard. Key improvements include higher fidelity in terrain detail, vegetation, and textures. The game opens in a highly detailed mountain region featuring rock formations and natural elements that look so close to real life. The attention to detail rivals the best tech demos available, but it's fully integrated into a playable game world. Weather effects are a standout feature once again. Timefall, a type of rain that accelerates time and causes environmental decay, makes a return and is even more dynamic in how it interacts with the world. When it rains, tar begins to bubble up from the ground, creating an eerie and reactive atmosphere. This just isn't for show, it influences gameplay in meaningful ways, adding tension and unpredictability. All of this visual complexity runs smoothly, with the game maintaining a solid 60 frames per second throughout. Particle effects are another highlight. Rain doesn't just fall, it splashes, refracts light and reacts to surfaces in a way that feels real. These small, delicate touches contribute to the immersive atmosphere this game gives off. Even during moments of combat where time may slow down for a dramatic effect, the particles behave realistically, enhancing the cinematic presentation. Cutscenes and character rendering are split between real-time gameplay and more directed cinematic sequences. These are among the best in the industry in terms of presentation, with carefully considered camera angles and smooth movement. The use of depth of field effects creates a more film-like quality, adding emotional weight and focus to key scenes. Performance-wise, Death Stranding 2 runs well on both the standard PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro. Both consoles offer quality and performance modes, with the Pro model including an option for 120Hz output to further reduce input lag and take advantage of variable refresh rate displays. However, frame rates are so stable and consistent that the extra VRR range is rarely needed. The audio design deserves special mention. Sound plays a critical role in making the world feel alive. The effects, ambient sounds, voice acting, and music are all carefully led to build tension or provide moments of calm. It's the kind of audio experience that makes you want to replay sections just so you can listen to the audio again. Gameplay has evolved from the original. While traversing the environment is still at the heart of the game, Death Stranding 2 introduces a more action-oriented element. Now you might find yourself sneaking into enemy outposts, scanning terrain, or planning stealth takedowns. gameplay mechanics that will feel very familiar to fans of the Metal Gear Solid series, especially Metal Gear Solid 5. Despite this increase in action, the core experience of navigating hostile terrain and delivering cargo remains intact. The game still demands careful planning and awareness, with your route and resources determining success or failure. The sequel successfully builds on everything that made the first game unique, while introducing new mechanics and refining the overall experience. It's a deeper, more varied game that still maintains the quiet, solitary atmosphere that made the original stand out. Whether you're facing environmental challenges or engaging in stealth and combat, Death Stranding 2 provides a well-rounded and engaging gameplay loop. In the end, Death Stranding 2 is more than just a technical showcase. It's a game that pushes creative and technological boundaries. It reinforces Kojima Productions' reputation for innovation and highlights just how powerful and flexible the Decima Engine can be when placed in the hands of a skilled development team. At the time of creating this video, Death Stranding reviews were largely unanimous. Death Stranding 2 is a masterpiece and arguably the best looking game on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, I won't go into any further details regarding the reviews. We're all excited this week to be getting our hands on the game, and then we can start to discuss this on next week's PlayStation podcast. Now, while we are talking about Death Stranding 2, I will mention just days before the official launch, the opening hour of Death Stranding 2 has been leaked online. A full 1 hour of gameplay footage leaked early and started circulating on YouTube, giving fans an early, albeit unofficial, glimpse of what Kojima Productions has been working on. Now, fear not, I have no plans or intentions of showing that leaked footage here on the video or on the channel, and I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone with any specific details. So let's just be clear, this leak didn't come from a reviewer breaking an agreement. Most likely it happened because a retailer somewhere broke the street date and shipped copies of the game ahead of schedule. The footage showed up on a Spanish channel on YouTube, and as you might expect from Hideo Kojima, without giving anything away of the game, it will start off with a lot of cinematic storytelling. Kojima is known for blending gameplay and narrative in a brilliant way, and Death Stranding 2 sticks to that very, very closely. Most of the first hour is packed with cutscenes, and it takes place in a desert environment, something that we've already seen teased in trailers and other promotional material. At one point in the leaked footage, just as a player gains control of Sam Porter Bridges, there's a notification on the screen about a new update being available, and that gives us a pretty solid clue that the footage was captured from a physical copy of the game being played offline. The update prompt doesn't give much away, but based on the timing, it could be referring to patch version 1.003, which was spotted online around June the 20th. That update weighs in at around about 862 megabytes, and instead of adding new content, it seems mostly to update existing files, probably for performance fixes or polishing last-minute bugs. Speaking of the file size, preloads for Death Stranding 2 have been available since June the 17th, and the game is quite large, with a base version taking up over 91 gigabytes of space, and with the new patch, players are looking at around about 92.5 gigabytes in total. The game is launching on PlayStation exclusively for now, just like the first one, but if history is anything to go by, it might not stay that way. The original Death Stranding hit PC around about 8 months after its console release, so it wouldn't be surprising to see Death Stranding 2 make its way to Steam or the Epic Game Store sometime in early or mid 2026. And as we get closer to launch, I kind of expect things to start leaking and coming out now. In fact, getting a game to come out without zero leaks is getting rarer and rarer. Not long to go before we get to play the game and experience greatness for ourselves. I know some of you are going to be enjoying this great game tomorrow with early access. Have a fantastic time playing it. I'll be enjoying it later in the week, most likely Friday or Saturday, and then we can discuss it on the podcast next week. Right guys, let's move on and talk about Naughty Dog's new game. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet is still early in development, but we are starting to learn more about what we might expect from that game. Thanks to a LinkedIn profile from someone who worked as an associate technical director at the studio, we've now got confirmation that this upcoming game will feature RPG-style progression systems. The resume in question lists RPG progression systems as part of the developer's responsibilities on Intergalactic, and Naughty Dog hasn't made an official announcement about this gameplay feature yet, but this detail has definitely caught the fans' attention. If you're familiar with games like The Last of Us, you'll know that Naughty Dog has dabbled a little bit in light RPG elements before, like upgrading weapons or unlocking skills through some kind of a small progression system. So it looks like Intergalactic might take that to another level, offering deeper, more involved character customization or build strategies. While there's still a lot of mystery around the game's story and gameplay structure, we do know a few things. For one, Intergalactic is reportedly playable in-house at Naughty Dog already. Studio head Neil Druckmann has even described it as incredible, which builds a lot of excitement around its potential. It's also worth mentioning that actor Tony Dalton, who many viewers may recognize from Better Call Saul or the Last of Us HBO series, has been offered a role in the game. Druckmann was reportedly impressed by Dalton's performance in The Last of Us Season 2, where he played the father of Joel and Tommy. That kind of casting choice suggests we're in for some serious storytelling and strong performances in this new sci-fi title. So far, trailers have hinted at melee combat and a more action-focused gameplay loop, which fits in naturally with the RPG mechanics like gear upgrade or weapon-based builds. In fact, some fans are already comparing it to games like God of War, where you can create different playstyles by equipping different items or weapons. There's also speculation that Druckmann's love for From Software titles like Bloodborne and Elden Ring might influence the design, particularly when it comes to combat and progression. The earliest we might see Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet launch is sometime in 2027, so we're still quite a way off. But it's clear Naughty Dog is aiming for something bold and different, likely their most ambitious and creative project to date. Now, the RPG elements could significantly change how Naughty Dog designs and delivers gameplay, especially if Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, is their first true step into RPG territory. Traditionally, Naughty Dog games like Uncharted and The Last of Us have been fairly linear and scripted, including RPG mechanics like skill trees, branching dialogues, or character builds will definitely open up more freedom for players to shape their own experiences. For example, character builds, they could have players that might be able to choose between stealth-heavy, combat-focused, or tech-based playstyles. And having gear weapon loadouts, instead of just upgrading a shotgun or a bow, players could choose different types of weapons and armor with stats that change the gameplay. And having RPG mechanics will very likely give the game more replayability. RPG systems tend to encourage more multiple playthroughs of games anyway. So if Intergalactic includes choices that affect outcomes, or give you alternate story paths, or class-based progression, players may be more likely to replay the game to see different results. The other thing that lots of players like about RPG games is that it offers a more non-linear storytelling experience. And Naughty Dog is known for tightly scripted, emotional-driven stories, and RPG-style games often allow players to influence the story through decisions or side quests. If Naughty Dog leans into that, we could see multiple endings, branching storylines, side characters with deeper arcs or loyalty missions. This would be a major change, a major evolution from their previous work, so very excited to finally start getting more information, albeit in drips and drabs, from Naughty Dog's next new game. 2027 seems like a reasonable release for Intergalactic. How are you guys feeling about the game having some kind of RPG progression system? I mean, to me, it sounds really fascinating. I'm all in on this game from what I've seen so far and what I've heard. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and let's move on. Rebel Wolves, a studio made up of former CD Projekt Red developers, the team behind the Witcher series, has been hard at work on a new dark fantasy RPG called The Blood of Dawnwalker. And recently we got our first extended look at the game thanks to a brand new gameplay overview video released in partnership with Bandai Namco Entertainment. What stood out right away is how much the game carries over the spirit of The Witcher 3, especially in how the world is designed and the depth of its atmosphere. The footage was captured on PC using a pre-beta build, so it's still in development, but honestly, it already looks very polished. In the video, we see the main character, Cohen, first fighting off a group of bandits before making his way into a large city called Svartreu. The city feels alive and very detailed, similar to Novigrad from The Witcher 3. And it's clear the team knows how to build an immersive medieval world. But The Blood of Dawnwalker just isn't about the setting, it's about duality. And one of the most unique mechanics is how the game completely changes between day and night. By day, Cohen operates more like a traditional fantasy hero, so you have swordplay, magic, ruins, and human interaction are at the forefront. The twist is that his magical abilities cast through blood-infused scars on his body drain his health when used, making every spell a risk versus reward decision. But once the sun goes down, the tone of the game shifts dramatically. Cohen taps into his vampire side and gains access to a totally different set of skills. He can climb across rooftops, with a teleport-like move called Shadow Step and use deadly claws in combat, and has to manage a growing bloodlust. And this bloodthirst isn't just a background trait, it's a big part of the gameplay. You have to choose how and when to feed, whether it's by attacking enemies, drinking from wildlife, or using stored blood vials. Ignoring it too long and Cohen can lose control, which could result in unintended deaths, even major characters in the story being killed off. And the story reacts to your decisions in real time. Rebel Wolves have said there's no hard line between main and side quests. Everything you do shapes the narrative. So if a quest turns out differently because you lost control and you killed off a main character, the story doesn't stop, it just moves in a new direction. They're calling it a narrative sandbox, which means choices carry weight but don't lock you into failure. It's all part of your version of Cohen's journey. So it looks like we could all pretty much have different versions of the same game. Combat-wise, the game uses a directional fighting system that's similar to a game called For Honor made by Ubisoft. There are 4 directional attacks, and success comes from reading your enemy's movements, blocking at the right time, and striking when they're vulnerable. It's tactical and requires timing, and it's not just about button bashing. Towards the end of the gameplay demo, we see Cohen face off against a vampire boss named Xanthi, and let's just say it doesn't go well, and that's by design. The devs revealed you can technically take on any boss you want in the game pretty early, even the final boss, but expect a serious challenge if you're underleveled or unprepared. One more interesting mechanic is the time element. Cohen only has 30 in-game days to save his family, which adds urgency to your action. It's not a countdown that ends the game, but rather a resource you need to manage wisely. Choose your quests and battles carefully, or risk running out of time when it matters most. The Blood of Dawnwalker is scheduled to launch in 2026 and will be available on PlayStation, PC and Xbox. It sounds good, right? I mean, I'm really interested in giving this a try. I don't usually dive into RPG heavy games purely due to time, but I like the fact that the story or narrative doesn't end if you take out the wrong character. That, to me, sounds fantastic. The narrative sandbox. Very intrigued. Guys, let me know your thoughts and let's move on. During a recent livestream discussing the newly announced Xbox version of Final Fantasy XVI, producer Naoki Yoshida joked that it's just Nintendo left, to which the creative director, Kazutoyo Mihiro, replied, "I'll do my best." Now that might sound like a casual bit of banter, but considering what's just happened over the past few months, it's probably more than just talk. That's the green light for Final Fantasy to head over to Nintendo. Just for context, Final Fantasy XVI first launched on PlayStation 5 as an exclusive back in 2023. Just this month, it was finally revealed to be coming to Xbox Series X and S. At the same time, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, originally a timed exclusive for PlayStation 5, is also heading to Xbox. And perhaps even more surprising, Square Enix announced in April that the game would also be coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So what we're seeing is a major shift from Square Enix's traditional platform strategy. The company has openly admitted that recent sales of Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were lower than expected. In response, they announced a new multi-platform approach moving forward. They put it pretty clearly in a statement. They want to create a global environment where more players across all major consoles can access their top-tier franchises, not just new games, but also legacy titles. So that means more Final Fantasy games, old and new, coming to Xbox and Nintendo platforms. This could include everything from mainline entries to remasters and spin-offs. The director of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Naoki Hamaguchi, has even hinted that the entire remake trilogy could eventually end up on the Switch 2, not just Intergrade. That's a big deal for fans who have been waiting years to play these games outside of the PlayStation ecosystem. It's a win for players, especially those who don't want to be locked into a single console just to enjoy their favourite franchise. And for Square Enix, it could mean stronger sales and a broader global reach, something that they clearly need after recent underperforming releases. Final Fantasy's change from being mostly a PlayStation exclusive series to becoming a multi-platform franchise is a big deal, and it will impact players in different ways. So it looks like Square Enix is fully embracing its multi-platform approach. I can see, if I'm honest with you, I can see Final Fantasy games flying on Nintendo Switch. I think they will sell millions on that platform, like they've done on PlayStation. It's just the Xbox platform right now, which is the outlier. It won't sell on that platform. They won't have or achieve the numbers that they expect on Xbox unless Square Enix gets a deal from Microsoft to place their games into Game Pass for a large fee equivalent to X number of sales, X number of units. That's the only way they'll receive the kind of money I suppose they're hoping to receive from Xbox by dropping it into Game Pass in exchange for a payout. But interesting to see how this unfolds for future upcoming Final Fantasy games. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments about the content discussed today, and I'll catch you on the next video.